podcast for real estate resources and independent living strategies for the disability community. Why? Because accessibility is home. Hi, I'm Angela Fox, blogger and author of My Blue Front Door. All right. Hello, everyone. And in this episode on Accessibility is Home podcast, we're going to do a special episode for Black History Month. And particularly what we are going to talk about today is I have a lovely guest here, and we're going to explore what it means to be not only disabled and in the housing industry, whether you own your own home or you're looking for a home or you need some assistance in renting, but also what it also means if you happen to be African American. So you're having, two minorities. And if you're also a woman like me, having just that multi-layer. And so I have a wonderful guest, Candace, and she's going to introduce herself. But for those of you who are visually impaired, I want to say I'm a white woman in a electric wheelchair wearing a black jacket. With my teacher of Accessibility is Home podcast, that's blue and white. And my pronouns are she and her. So Candace, would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, you want the 30-second pitch?
Go right ahead.
All right. Hi, my name is Candace Joseph. I am the Chief Executive Officer of the Joseph Consulting Firm. We are a powerhouse here in Houston, Texas that can make all of your entrepreneur dreams come true. I am also the radio host of the Business Knowledge Broker Hour on High Music Radio, where I find the hidden jewels in small business, entrepreneurship, dreams, even community advocates and activists. And I do it with a smile, and I love opera and chess. How about you?
Oh, well, great. I do love chess myself. If you want to describe yourself for visually impaired, and if you feel comfortable disclosing your disability, I appreciate it.
Okay. I am an African-American female. I am currently wearing a pink jacket with pearls and a dark colored top. I do have several disabilities. I suffer from PTSD, anxiety, depression. I am also physically impaired as well. I walk with a cane, and sometimes I have a nifty wheelchair in my car. And my pronouns are she and her.
Thank you so much. Always want to make sure we all know who we're talking to, right? So yes. I reached out to you, asked you questions about, what has been your general experience in the housing industry, whether it's personal or if you've had any other encounters with friends, but what has been your general experience? And then we'll go do a deeper dive into that.
Okay, my general experience in regards to housing is sometimes difficult and sometimes a great experience. I think that's a generalization of it. I have been in situations where I have been discriminated against because of my physical disability and also because of my sexual orientation as well.
Okay. And what's your current housing situation right now?
Currently, I rent. My home got destroyed in Hurricane Harvey.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, so my family, we've been trying to figure out exactly where we want our compound to be. And we've decided over the years that, last couple of years, that we might just have to build our own structure to accommodate the needs of, our family and each one's individuality and what they need. Got
it. So when you were... terribly sorry to hear about your housing being destroyed. I mean, that's got to be a huge heartache, and sounds like you're still bouncing back from it. But going when you were looking into buying that house, what was your experience in that? Did you find, that the real estate agents were helpful to meet, your disability needs as well as, you mentioned some of your family needs as well?
I will say this, our experience with the real estate agents have been great. Sometimes, it kind of surprised me, the look on their face when they realize that they can't find something that meet your needs that's already built. You need those wider hallways, to get the wheelchair down. You need the handicap railing, in our areas, and even sometimes a ramp. And sometimes it's like you have to kind of give the real estate agent some assurance and say, hey, it's okay that you can't meet all of these needs. We know in some form we may have to build out, in the future. And I think the real estate agents are great. And sometimes you will get some that are not so great. I've had some that made me prove everything about myself in regards to being a business owner. And when I was a 9-to-5-er, in regards to my 9-to-5 work, oh, I don't think your income is enough. Oh, I don't know if this is the right community for you. I don't know if you fit the demographic. It's like, wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's a eye-awakening experience, I think, for both the real estate agents and also the home buyer or the future home buyer person looking to buy that house. It's interesting that you said that you kind of went into the mindset that you would have to modify the home. And I agree. I mean, I had to do the same thing with my electric wheelchair, and I actually talked all about how to do that in my book, My Blue Front Door, on Amazon. But I wrote that because of all my struggles I had with that. But I went in like knowing that there is no handicap housing. Like you're not going to find it. But have you had any experience when you were talking to any other people who are disabled that may not have that mindset at all, that they think there might be accessible housing out there to buy at least?
Well, I think that sometimes people hope that there is something that's more modified out there, especially when we look at it from the standpoints of, people are developing housing, even apartment buildings and, apartment complexes that cater to people that are dog lovers or people that cater to senior living.
Yes.
A lot of times, a lot of handicap accessible areas, communities are in those senior communities, or,
yes.
So it's like, okay, well, technically, I'm not really a senior yet, so I can't live in those developments or live in those areas. But then it's kind of like, okay, what do I do? So it can be a frustrating process when you think about what your needs are and trying to find it. So I feel as if, housing going forward should be made accessible. Builders should make homes that are handicap accessible. I do believe that.
Yeah, and I fully agree. And just to educate, if we have a real estate agents listening, anything like that, I think, I don't know if you experience this, but this whole idea is like, well, there's just not a market for it. Like, why would we do that? And I don't believe that. People with disabilities are the largest minority in the United States, and there's 1.6 million people having to use a wheelchair or a cane alone. So, obviously, I think, COVID is a good example on why you don't want to be in group homes or nursing homes, and things like that. I think that's really important to kind of just say that out there for any of those people that are kind of new. You and I are kind of vets. We know we know what the housing industry really looks like, and we know what's really going on. But I think it's kind of important to kind of bring modern times or recent events into the equation. You mentioned about discrimination. I want to dive that a little bit deeper with both realtors and also being a person of color. Like that neighborhood's not good for you, or you mentioned something with that. Obviously, senior citizens communities would not be a good fit if you're not a senior citizen and you have family members. You don't want kids running around. So that there's that community. But was there any other communities that you experienced that they thought would not be a good fit? And now a quick break from our sponsor. So as you can see and also hearing me, I am sitting on my back deck and I have my grill. I love being out in my back deck. I hate when I forget something and I have to wheel back into the house, particularly my cell phone. However, I'm excited to announce that another disabled owned business, Cush Pocket, has come up with a solution by creating this fabulous wheelchair bag. I love this bag and have been a proud customer since almost the very beginning. Why do I like it? One, it's huge. Two, it comes in multiple colors. But three, you can put it anywhere on the base of your wheelchair. How does that happen? It's attached to the slab and it has little Velcro. You put it directly underneath your cushion of your wheelchair. And the Velcro and the weight of your body ensures that this fabulous cush pocket bag it certainly will not move. I personally have two directly in front of me and it hides behind my legs, and I love that because it's so much more convenient. Trust me, you will never forget anything ever again. So as you can see down below, I have a direct link for Cush Pocket, and if you use my code Angela Fox, you will get $1 off. And not only will you get a fabulous bag, but you'll also support two disabled owned businesses, Cush Pocket and my business, Horizontal Houses. Check it out.
I'll give you an example, and
Yeah.
I'm going to go back 15 years.
Okay.
I was new to a certain area that's outside of Houston, got a new job working for the government, and the only housing that was new in that area was, really like 7 minutes away from the new job.
Okay.
And I was so excited about that. I was like, okay, new job, new housing, okay. And this was before my 2016 car wreck, right?
Okay.
So 15 years back, I went to this apartment complex and it was on a golf course.
Okay.
And it was like, okay, okay, this is real nice, it's modern, it's up to date, it has all the bells and whistles, it's close to the new job. So when I went into the leasing office, they immediately said, oh, I think you're in the wrong place.
Oh.
Yeah, because I am African American, and back then I had a braided hairstyle that's really trendy, popular today. And back then they were like, well, we think you might be in a wrong place. Which apartment complex are you looking for? I said, oh no, I'm looking for this one.
Yeah. I know where I'm at. Thank you.
Yeah. And it was like, okay, I was so excited being on a golf course because I did golf in college. I was so excited. I said, okay, I'm in the right place. And they immediately started telling me about the income requirements and the deposits. And I was like, okay, well, can I look at a unit first before you pull out all this paperwork? And for me, it was just one of those, another instance, and that's what I said like that. It was another instance of me being discriminated against just on, my appearance, based on my skin color. And it was, it was kind of, it made me look at things a little bit differently back then. I think back then it was kind of like, that's really no big deal. They question everybody like that.
Yeah.
At that moment, it was like, whoa, okay, this is not the first time this happened to you. Is this going to be a trend? So I said, well, I meet all your requirements. Can I please see a unit? And it took them 30 minutes in order to show me a unit. They was like, oh, we have other appointments. And I was like, look, this is the only complex in this area with availability.
Yeah.
Are we doing this thing or not?
Not, right.
I have to say that I moved into that complex and me and the leasing people became really good friends, and I educated them on bias.
Oh, how wonderful. That's why I was going to ask you what the outcome was. That is absolutely wonderful, because it really is, and I don't know about you, but it's only been the last probably maybe decade that I think the disability community has had our own terminology of conscious bias, which is ableism. I'm a 1980s born, technically a millennial, but I act more like a Generation X, but because I only meet it by 1 year. So I get a little thorny on that, but that's all right. I love millennials too. But I didn't have anything going up, but there was that bias just by looking at me and things like that. Have you had any discrimination experience with your housing situation based on your disability?
I have.
Okay.
And when our family compound, we lost the first floor in Hurricane Harvey, in 2018, we started looking for rental property, thinking, okay, well, if our home is going to have to be rebuilt and all of that is going to take about a year, And we were looking for a place. So it was weird because when I walked into certain homes, the owners of those homes would sometimes be there. You know, oh,
Okay.
I came by to, you guys had an appointment. Oh, I just came by to check the mail. And then they're looking at the real estate agent, they're shaking their head like, no, no, absolutely not. You know,
Wow. Wow.
so I've had that. I've had where I've called real estate agents on the phone, and the minute they met me, they said, are you sure you're meeting with me today?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I had one real estate agent, and I taught her a really good lesson.
Okay.
She met me in the driveway of the house. She was standing outside waving as I pulled in, and had a very sunny disposition, very nice.
Mm-hmm.
The minute I got out the car and I grabbed my cane and I started walking towards her, she said, oh, I'm scared this is going to be a liability thing. Are you okay? Do you want someone else to look at the home? I'm scared you're going to fall. And I'm like, okay, did you guys wax the floors like 5 minutes before?
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Right.
I was like, well, if I'm thinking about renting here, hopefully you guys wouldn't wax the floor while we fall. And, that my father was with me, and the look on his face was like, wow, again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's disheartening for a parent to see, their child in their 40s go through something like that. And I told my dad, I said, well, it's okay. It's okay. And then the lady, she grabbed me by the arm. Okay, well, we got to go up one.
Oh, the helper. The helper. I love the helpers.
We have to
Right? Yeah.
go up one step to get inside. Okay, let's go. 1, 2. And
True. And they need to count for you, right? Because you can't count on your own.
I saw the lady. I said, well, I said, oh, I do recognize the stairs there. I see that. And she was like, okay. And it was like all around each room I walked into. Are you okay? Are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
Do you need someone to help you
Do you
from
need to
room?
sit down? Do you need to sit down?
That too. Uh,
Yeah.
I've had realtors kind of follow me with a rolling chair from room to room. But I will say, I looked at it from not so much from I try not to look at things from a negative connotation. I
Mm-hmm.
looked
Mm-hmm.
at it from a lack of education. And,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they haven't experienced someone that has a disability.
Right.
Everyone I meet, I try to educate.
Yep.
'Cause
Yep.
most people think because I'm a business owner and I'm on TV and radio that, okay, your cane is a prop. It's like, no, this is a real
Oh,
thing
yeah.
here.
Oh, I didn't think about that. See, that's
Yeah,
a whole nother layer, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if you ever get an electric wheelchair, here's a fun little thing you can do. If you ever want somebody to help you, is that some people don't really know the differences between a manual and electric wheelchair, so they think they can push electric wheelchair. So just let them try for about 30 seconds, and it's quite fun because obviously you're not going to push an electric wheelchair that weighs 250 pounds, anything, but if you need a little pick me up, that's, you don't immediately come off. You let them try for 30 seconds, and then you educate them, right? So that's a little naughty fun right there. But
Okay.
so you didn't need see, my experience was obviously just getting into the home was a challenge, right? Because I can't walk
Right.
or stand. I'm paraplegic since I was born. And so I've always had, manual electric wheelchair. And, I had tried to, and I talked about this in my book. I had to educate them, be like, hey, I'm looking at houses that only have 2 or 3 steps into the home. And
Yep.
then do you have a manual ramp? And no one did. No one did. No one thought about that. Everybody wanted to take videos. It's funny. I was trying to get them to go inside the homes and at least do some preliminary video shots. And this was during the Great Recession when realtors were out of a job, and
Yeah.
I thought for sure that they would be all over me, right? I'm a lawyer. I've been employed by the federal government for 7 years by then, and everything like that. And it was like pulling teeth to get them to go by the house and do. And then here we are in COVID, and everything's virtual.
Yes.
And so I think this is a good opportunity, I think, for the disability community to hold on to, again, modern events going on,
Mm.
pushing home ownership. Probably you don't need necessarily group home, or you don't necessarily need a nursing home. But also with real estate agents, like, okay, keep that virtualness aspect up and going. I think that's, part of that educational piece you said, and things along that nature. Was there any time when you needed help from a realtor? So I described my help, and you talk about them being overly helpful, right? The extra
Yes.
helpful. But was there anything that you needed help with, and how did it go?
Okay, so when Hurricane Harvey happened, I was in a wheelchair. After that,
Mm-hmm.
looking for a home, I had one particular issue because I was in a manual wheelchair at the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I needed to know the sizes of the door frames
Got it. Yep.
in order
Very
to
important.
maneuver, from room to room.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, any home that you rent or that you buy, you're going to have to deal with some type of
Yeah.
modification.
Right.
But with the wheelchairs, I wanted to make sure that I can get in. And then in Houston, a lot of the more comfortable homes that are one story, they're one story homes. You don't have to deal with stairs. They're
Mm-hmm.
older homes.
Yeah.
They're, probably
Yep.
built in the 80s. So,
60s. My house, 60s. Same thing.
right. So I think the one that I'm living in now, I think it was built in like 78 or 79. So, back then it was more so of, okay, bigger rooms, but the closets are smaller or the doorways are smaller. So then you're looking at it, okay, well, if I take the hinges off the doors,
Yeah.
remove the doors, will I be able to push the wheelchair in? And then that comes with, toilet accommodations, shower versus tub.
Mm-hmm.
Because in a lot of the older homes, the tubs are really, really low and the toilets are really, really low.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have to figure out, okay, can I maneuver? So this one realtor, she was so nice because I just got out the car, put my wheelchair, out to the side. I grabbed the wheelchair and I'm rolling up to the door. And she was like, I didn't realize you were in a wheelchair. Okay, hold on. And she went next door, and I guess the guys were construction workers. So they had a plank of wood and they put it over the steps in order for me to get in. She said, no, I want to make sure you're comfortable. She went around to each room and measured the door frames and
Oh.
the chair. How awesome is that? And to this day, she is the person that I utilize and tell people to go to, even though at that time she couldn't find me exactly what I was looking
Mm-hmm.
for.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't find a home until 6 months later.
Mm-hmm.
She was awesome.
You gotta hold on to somebody like that.
Yes.
I end up buying my house directly to the owner. I eventually dropped the whole real estate agent thing because of all this wonderful experience. So if you found somebody like that,
Yes.
wow, you hold on to it. So you really do. And how was your experience? So obviously being disabled, we have to look at a lot more houses. I mean, it just, to say the least, right? We can't just drop into a community and then like 1 month later or 2 months later we'll go find a house. I mean, that's just that. I mean, if you can, please give me a call, y'all. I want to know that experience. Time is money for realtors,
Yeah.
and even for ourselves, right? We are working women. We're business women, right? You and
Yeah.
I. So how did that experience go with realtors? I mean, was that, the long haul, I guess?
I created my own checklist.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
I mean, I think that was the key to getting and finding something that was close to what I wanted. And
Mm-hmm.
most people, they look for how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, does it have a backyard? For me, I go a little bit deeper than that. I look at where's the closest emergency room,
Mm-hmm.
where does the public transportation for
Yes.
handicapped individuals, does it come to this area in case I ever need it?
Yep. Yep.
You know,
And
uh,
what about sidewalks? I once got the privilege of going to a really nice community, and they had no, she was like, "Oh, but the bus stop is on a major highway," but there was no sidewalks out of the community.
Yep, I look at that. I look at then you have to think about things like crime rate. I tell people all the time, I walk with a cane. I can't run. So,
Right. Yeah.
I put a little
Like,
humor
here
behind it.
I am, Yeah.
Yeah, I put a little humor behind it. And I was very fortunate to move into a neighborhood where, on my block, there are 4 or 5, Houston police officers. And I made sure I introduced myself to them, and I did that. So, you have to think about all those things. You have to think about the grocery store. You have to think about if certain, like you said, because of COVID, do they have grocery store drop off in this community? Right. Do they have, those things? So I created a checklist, and I created a checklist on how wide I needed the door frames to be, the hallways to be. And even if it's like you said about counting steps, I even put a list on any steps in a doorway, what's everything like, and what are modifications, can you send me a list of modifications that I would have to do? Because sometimes when you get those checklists, you're looking at the pictures, and then you look at it and say, okay, well, if they don't meet up to the qualifications of my checklist, then I know I need to look somewhere else.
Yeah. Now, when you looked at Zillow or any other real estate listing, I'll be curious to know what your experience is compared, because we looked at houses in different decades, you and I. So I would be curious to know, what was your experience when looking at the listings, as far as was it helpful for any handicap features listed at all?
Okay, so I will say this: on some, they will say that. Some they will, but for 80%, 85%, it's a no.
Yeah.
You don't see it. It's one of those things, like they'll let you know if it's certain things that you can, that they have. And sometimes they'll put in there, like, who was the previous owner, previously owned by someone that may have been, disabled or had a disability. So they'll let you know that. But honestly, I just kind of did it by riding through the neighborhoods and seeing who had signs up, and just kind of calling. Some of those apps are not accurate, because some of the home listings, they're already taken. Sometimes you get excited about something when you see it, and they're not there. So I think that there should be more information, that those apps should consider. I know they look for the hot buttons. People want to know if there's a school nearby. People want to know how many people are in that area. I get that. And what the crime rate is. I understand that too. But most of the times you find no description. Yeah. And sometimes they don't have all of the pictures that you would want to, They want the cute rooms. They never want to show you the ones that need work. And, you're kind of like, okay, this house is 40 years old, but I don't want to have to deal with plumbing issues when I'm already someone who is already dealing with other issues. So I think that the apps can be better.
Yeah.
Can get a lot better.
Yeah, I know Redfin has like accessibility. You have to go to advanced settings, and you can check the accessibility. And I think if you experience, you can read a listing, and when it says, like, open concept, that there's going to be more wider areas, things like that. I mean, did you ever walk into, because have you ever walked into a home and there was an accessible feature and it wasn't listed?
Yes, I've had one home like that had a rail that went down the hallway, like from each room to each room. There was like a little bar.
Right.
And it was like, okay, this wasn't here. It's like, oh yeah, the house has been on the market for a year. The owner decided to move back in, but they had to modify it. And I was like, okay, this is cool. I can work with this.
Did they ever say why they didn't disclose that? Or was it just a timing issue?
I think with them, it was a timing issue. I don't think it was more so of like they were trying to hide the fact that the house had been modified. I think that it was just a housing thing. The house had been on the market for so long. And the owner was like, well, okay, it's been on the market 100 days. I might as well move back in.
Okay. Yeah. My experience actually was they did try to intentionally hide it. So I had walked into some one-level rambler walkout basement, and it was 1960, so a lot of doors were I could barely get in. But one of the bathrooms had some handicap features, had like, a handbar and everything. And I go, wow, did somebody here was disabled? And the realtor goes, yeah. I go, that's awesome. I go, I didn't see that listed. And they said, in fact, I saw a photo without it. in fact. And they're like, yeah, we took it out when we took the photo. And I said, well, why did you do that? They said, well, the homeowners they were afraid that would be a deterrent.
Wow.
So I had my opportunity to educate, and the realtor was like, he's like, yeah, so I understood that. So it was my opportunity to educate them that there is a market for it, and that the only time I said, do you believe that handicap features rate lowers the market value of the home? And the realtor said yes.
Wow.
In fact, I had a bank appraiser come to my home because I was going to refinance. And, I said, I do have some handicap features and everything. And he was concerned about that. And I said, I had to educate him on the fact that, hey, it makes it, what people get confused is the cosmetic aspect of it. So,
Yeah.
okay. And if you understand universal design, so I have a whole another episode on that. But if you understand universal design, you incorporate something that everybody can use. All right. And you do it in such a way that it blends in. And so, like a good example is my driveway. I had to put a new driveway in, and I have a sidewalk ramp from my driveway, goes around my tree and into the front of my house. Okay.
Love
All
it.
one thing. And you've got photos of my house in a concrete magazine, believe it or not. And so no one knew that that was an accessible design feature. My experience has been that not only does Zillow, Redfin kind of not have a lot accessibility options in there, and real estate agents don't know how to like read the listing and say, oh, okay, it doesn't say handicap, but it says open concept, wider doors, whatever the case may be. But I have experience where they've actually tried to hit it because of that bias of that lowers the market. But you just hold on to universal design and you don't have a problem with it. So it's just really interesting, our experiences. But you were talking about when your father joined you when you were looking for homes and things like
Yeah.
that. The stats are not good for African Americans as far as home ownership. I mean, it's
It's true.
awful. It's just awful. Like, white people dominate home ownership.
Yeah.
So with that being said, what was your experience as being disabled and African American within your own community? Say, hey, I'm buying a house, or I'm looking to buy a house. I mean, it sounds like you had support from your father, but can you talk a little about that? Was it good, bad experience?
Well, I think within, all communities, you're going to find a group of people that are marginalized, right?
Right,
So,
exactly.
being African American, you're correct. Most African Americans do not own their own home. You are correct in that. And a lot of times you sit back and you try to wonder why. Why
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
it a lack of knowledge in regards to what real estate is and how it can be advantageous for the future?
Mm-hmm.
Or you look at it and say, okay, is it because, people feel like those that are African American should be in a certain pocket of a city?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And when you go to branch out, I've noticed for me, my experience with that has been, not getting return phone calls back or stating that
Okay.
I want to work with an African American realtor.
Oh, how nice. That's very
Yeah.
helpful. Great. Yes.
So they didn't look at it as like, oh, okay, she has a credit score, oh, she has the income,
Right. She's
oh,
black.
she's
Gotta
black.
go away.
Oh, wow. Okay, she's black, she's handicapped, and she's a lesbian.
Not gonna do that one.
I don't know if we want her in
Ooh,
the neighborhood, right?
that's just a little bit too much, right?
Right. But, it's surprising that, people will. I think for me, the most discouraging thing was being African American and going to a neighborhood that was predominantly white
Yeah.
and having them bring over the African American neighbor to
Oh,
tell
how
me about
lovely.
the experiences as I walk out of the home. Oh, yeah, the realtor asked me to come by and talk with you about, living in this neighborhood. And it was like, okay, do I have to worry about living in this neighborhood?
Right. Like, well, it's a code I don't know about.
Right, right. Is it only one per street or?
We have a quota, right? We're back in 1960s, right?
Yeah. So it was like, okay. So I just, like I said, I am a person, I believe in giving people that education. I always do
Mm-hmm.
it where I go. And I was like, okay, well, this is a little weird for me. And people will come up to me and give me like, oh, but this is a realtor that you should speak with. And you're like, okay, well, I'm talking to you right now. You're the realtor that I called. What does it
Yeah.
matter if, oh, well, I just feel like I can find someone that could suit your needs a little bit better. This gal
Yes.
is great. That's what I get. This gal is great. And you're like, wow.
Okay. Yeah. Moving on, right?
Yeah,
Right.
but then there's even, is even an intersection of racism within the African American community as well. When
Mm-hmm.
you're dealing with Black realtors, like, oh, well, you can't really afford this, and you're like, well, don't you make a commission if you sell me a home?
Right. So why does it matter to you?
Does it matter to you?
Right.
And you get that. You get
Yeah.
that. I get that a lot, and that was one of the reasons why I joined certain organizations here in Houston that can
Mm-hmm.
help in regards to discrimination,
Mm-hmm.
and also bring acknowledgement to where more places need to be handicap accessible other than just stores.
Well, that's a great segue into my next question. That when I reach out to housing nonprofit organization advocacies, and they start talking about minorities, they most of the time they don't talk about disabilities. Like 9 out of 10 times, disability is not there. And so I always ask them, when like for example, when they talk about the African American community and all the rental programs or the home ownership programs or the trying to change a policy, whatever the advocacy is. I say, well, what about people who are African American and disabled? And like, oh yeah, we've got this program, and this program is going to help them. But my question I'd like to ask you, because I'm white, so I don't know any better, and that is, keeping it real, keeping it real. We all
Yeah.
have our experiences.
Sure.
Do those programs, and I say programs, policies in a very loose term, do they actually help the disabled community within the African American community, or is it more of helping the family of that disabled person?
It's more so of helping the family.
That's what. Okay.
Because they look at it as the disabled person is going to eventually need a caretaker.
Yes, that's why I try to tell them, and I say, well, the phrase "nothing for us without us," and for those people who are new to the disability community, that is the push of we should rely on our family. We have our own thoughts and minds, and if you're going to be talking about anything that's going to affect us, you need to make us the leaders of that campaign. And so it's the slogan is "nothing for us without us," and most of them have never even heard of that. So, and even within disability organization for specific type of disability, I reach out and they talk about the marginalized minorities within a minority, somebody who might be of a color that it actually is a disability housing organization. How you're helping, African Americans who are disabled, they immediately refer me to an organization for African American housing, and then I talk to them, and they're not even focusing on disabilities. And so there's a disconnect on top of a disconnect. And so I'm actually on the hunt to show me the data that these programs for particular minorities, whether it's African American or anything else, actually helping the disability community within that minority. And I can't seem to get that information out of
No,
people.
no. And the thing about it is, you will be very hard pressed to find it.
Yeah, exactly. I
But,
don't think they're
no,
asking about it.
no. And this is what I do. I'm a person, I'm okay with interjecting myself
Yes.
and joining any organization to bring visibility to areas that need it. Just like here in the city of Houston, we have an Office of Disabilities. I'm one of those people that write about housing. I will write about it, not so much as in, I talk about sidewalks. I talk about, how they have city events and there's no
Mm-hmm.
handicap parking, there's no
Yep. Yep.
accessibility to buildings. And
Mm-hmm.
I've even gone so far as to talk to owners of commercial properties as well. Because as building owners, we want to be able to work within a space that we can operate,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know?
Yep.
So I've done that as well. And I've joined real estate organizations that are based on fighting discrimination. And to me, I don't care if it's just discriminating, they talk about LGBTQ rights or they talk about African American rights. I am bringing forth the discussion to talk about disabilities. It's needed.
Yep. Yeah. It's we're everywhere. It's the largest.
Yeah.
It's the largest minority. I say that, but I just think it gets overlooked. And so when you have such a large disability group, you got so much diversity. So I really appreciate you taking the time and having this really great in-depth discussion. Is there anything that you like to share that, I may not be asking, I should be asking?
I would never say so much as what you should be asking. I would concentrate on the items that to be true, and then maybe start a wish list of things that that as a disabled person that's trying to find housing that we would want. And so to me, I think that that's a better campaign. And look, I'm all for creating something where we can stand together and talk about the housing discrimination. That's what I tell people, like, okay, if we can't search for the answers, let's go ahead and create our own polls. Let's create our own surveys. Let's have more discussion panels to talk about the marginalized community of disabled people. Let's talk about that, because it's more than physical disability. We have the hearing impaired, we have the sight impaired. We have people that have different types of disabilities, and not all disabilities are visible. Right. So, so I'm one of those people. Let's mix it up. Let's form a panel. Let's form our own organization. I'm with that.
Well, I love it. I love it. And you know what? That's a great call to action. So I'm all about, a lot of the conversations, rightfully so, is centered around rental income and things like that. But I'm a thought leader in the housing industry. And so I think that, I truly believe that if we get home ownership on the table, that really will bring all, whether it's rental income or not, all accessible, because there will be then a financial gain, right? I mean, we live in a capitalist society. So I think it's a great call to action. And so if anybody is out there listening to this podcast, if you have an organization that's focusing on these type of things, please reach out to me. Also, if you have any surveys, or create your own survey or create your own checklist, send it to me and I'll compile it and I'll put it on my blog. Is www at horizontals-homes.com. And also, if you want to get a hold of me personally, is contact me at angelafoxbooks.com. And I want to thank you, Candace, so much for taking the time and having this wonderful conversation.
No, thank you. And I have to say thank you for keep doing the work that you're doing. Because I think that if we all strive together, and individually we're cool, but if we all join together, we can be a mighty fist. So I want to thank you for being light, thank you for being love, and thank you for giving knowledge to where it's needed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
In conclusion, I want to remind everyone listening that it takes a village to make a change. Nothing can live just within ourselves. So I invite you to join my Facebook page, Accessibility is Home, to ask your questions about real estate and independent living concerns for your disability. Or, better yet, just share your success stories. And please use the hashtag #HomesForDisabled on all of your social media networks. Don't forget to join my Instagram and Twitter at Door My Blue, which is short for the title of my book on Amazon called My Blue Front Door. I have also created a website for my book, blog, and of course this podcast, which can be found at www.angelafoxbooks.com. Please don't forget to check out my free handouts and interesting articles on my blog's website. So thank you for listening to this podcast, because accessibility is home.